Justin here with Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and this is our Yamaha WR250R adventure bike build. All right guys, a lot of people don't think of the WR250R as an adventure bike. But this thing is extremely surprising. Sure, it's not going to be as fast as the big bikes on the highway, on the street, and sure, your buddies might pull away from you a little bit, but when you get to the dirt, you're going to be the envy of the group. So in this video, I want to show you guys what I've done to make this awesome dual sport bike into an even better adventure bike. Before I show you my mods, I want to talk a little bit about the WR250R. Don't confuse this bike with the WR250F. In terms of construction, the strictly off-road F model has almost nothing in common with the R model. Different chassis, suspension, motor, everything. I think Yamaha named this the WR just to confuse people. The R is a unique bike with some of the features that make it perfect for adventure riding. First off, the price is right. I mean, for $7 grand, you can buy this thing brand new, and of course used, you can find one for a lot less. And it's got modern off-road suspension, and it's fuel injected. The WR250R is relatively lightweight for an adventure bike. It has a 6-speed transmission, so it does the slow off-road stuff pretty well, and it can hold 70, 75 on the highways. It's very stable at speed as well. One unique thing that this bike has is a 350 watt stator. So powering extra lights, grip heaters, or heated gear is generally not a problem. And it's reliable. This thing came out in 2008 and it's pretty much unchanged. And people have run them through the ringer and they've proven to be reliable over the years. In fact, the owner's manual doesn't even suggest you check the valve clearance until 26,000 miles. So it's a great bike. Now let's get to the mods. First off, I'm going to talk about the must-haves, and the very first must-have is a fuel tank. The stock 2-gallon tank doesn't get you very far. I'm only averaging about 50 to 60 miles per gallon on this thing, so the IMS 4.7 gallon tank is the way to go. Now, you'll notice the tank hangs way down further than where the fuel pump sits. It's actually got another pump inside with hoses that run to the bottom of the shrouds that pump the fuel up to the electronic fuel pump. So it works really well. I've run this thing out of gas and it sucked the gas bone dry. Next, I installed a Ricochet aluminum skid plate. The stock plastic skid plate wasn't going to hold up very long, and you want good protection when you're out in the middle of nowhere. This skid plate really threw up a lot of engine sound. I mean, all aluminum skid plates will, but this one did a lot. So I put skid plate foam in between the skid plate and the engine, and that really helped reduce sound. While I was at it, I put on a Tusk low-profile magnetic drain bolt just for a little extra protection. Next, you have to have luggage to be able to carry all your gear for long trips. So I've got the Tusk Panniers and Pannier Racks. And the racks are awesome because if you don't want to run aluminum panniers, they hold soft bags as well. And for the back bag, I'm carrying the Wolfman Expedition Duffel. The bag is awesome, it's waterproof, it holds my tent, my pad, my pillow, my chair, everything I need for camping is in that bag. And to hold my Expedition Duffel on the back of the bike, I have a Tusk rear rack. This is an aluminum rack. It's been powder coated, really tough. Whether you're a commuter or an adventure rider, you've got to have a rear rack on your WR. And of course, you have to have a tank bag. It's just nice to have a place to access sunglasses, wallet, whatever quickly. So I always run a tank bag, and that's the Enduro tank bag from Wolfman as well. The stock handlebars on this thing were pretty awful. They're really low and narrow. So I put on the Tusk big bar adapters to kind of get the bars a little higher, and I also put Tusk chub bars on. They're the Yamaha bend, and it just feels a lot better, a lot more room on the bike. Along with the handlebars, I put on the Tusk D-Flex hand guards, and I also put the spoilers on. The spoilers just give you a little more protection from the wind. I also put on Tusk grip heaters. In my opinion, that is a must for dual sport riding. As you can see, I routed the wires very carefully on the throttle side. You want to make sure that that moves freely so you don't break the solder joints on the grip heater. And with the grip heaters, I put on some Tusk grips as well. And finally, on my must-have list, I have knobby tires. These are Dunlop 606. They work awesome off-road and on-road. And very important, I put on rim locks. The bike doesn't come stock with rim locks, so I installed some Tusk rim locks. That just makes it really nice if you ever do get a flat, whether you're on the highway or off-road, the tire's gonna stay on the rim. So I always run rim locks on my motorcycles. All right, now let's talk about the nice to haves. They're not totally necessary, but I would recommend them. The first thing, here's the stock tail light. It's huge. There's just a lot going on there. So I've replaced it with a DRC tail light, and I'm running the Tusk LED blinkers. It's a lot smaller, sleeker setup. You're not packing around all the weight. However, if you do decide to keep this, just know that it does work with the Tusk panniers. Next, I put on a complete seat from Seat Concepts. Just a lot more comfortable for those all-day rides. Then I put on a Baja Design Squadron Pro light. These actually come 2 to a pack, and I actually just split it with a buddy because I didn't need both of them. But that light is super bright, and it's awesome when you get off-road and need some extra lighting. I went ahead and put on double take mirrors. These are actually the Enduro line. The stock mirrors were always flopping around and coming loose. These are a much better option. And for adventure riding, I had to put on a ram mount to hold my GPS, or in this case, a DeLorme InReach. And to reduce the risk of boiling over, I put on a Tusk high pressure radiator cap. This one is a 1.6, where the stock is only a 1.1. I also installed a Tusk 12 volt power socket. And because there wasn't a lot of room on this bike to put a power socket or switches for my heated grips or light, I kind of fabricated this plate out of aluminum and stuck it on top of my bar clamps. And finally, just for fun, I put on some anodized parts from Tusk, the fill plug, the reservoir cap, the anodized clevis on the rear brake, axle blocks, and magneto plugs. If you're interested in a smaller, extremely fun adventure motorcycle, the WR250R is definitely worth considering. With a few accessories, this little dual sport will be ready for some big adventures. Remember, Rocky Mountain ATV MC is the leader for dual sport parts, accessory, and apparel. Thanks for watching.